What's going on, traders, and welcome back to another YouTube video. So on today's video, we're going to go through, or should I say, we're going to revisit my Euro USD analysis that I did post, I believe, say about a week ago. So around the 17th, I believe I did post my last analysis. So we're going to revisit that analysis and talk about a few things that have progressed on that analysis since then. Before I get into it, let me throw in my little disclaimer. Remember, I'm not licensed nor qualified to offer financial, investment, or trading advice. Everything I speak about on these videos is purely my own opinion. I do not recommend trading live capital, but if you do it with capital that you are willing to lose, because you could lose your entire investment, right? It is quite risky with leverage products. So let's get straight into it and let's talk about Euro USD, and we're on the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart, I'm going to be very brief on this one because it's basically just a follow-up on the last video that I did post on Euro USD. So looking at this area, we're still within, we've actually traded below that demand zone, right? But this is a level of demand and it's not necessarily a very high level of importance in terms of my trading, right? I would expect price to maybe break through it, sometimes respect it, and so forth, because essentially all I'm using this to do is have an area that I can focus on, right? I'm not looking to trade the actual zone itself. I'm looking to see what happens when price gets there and see if any of my setups present themselves at that point, right? So the fact that price has traded below the zone right now is not necessarily of any importance to me. It doesn't necessarily impact me in any way right now. I am still expecting to see price reverse, right, as we are rather late in the week. So I am still expecting to see price reverse. If we see this weekly candle reverse and close perhaps inside of the zone or above of this zone, then I would still expect to see price pull back from this area, right? So overall, looking at this area, and for now, I am still looking to see price pull back, right? For now, the lower low has not been formed because the last thing that was formed in this market was this lower high, right? So I call this the lower high. I wouldn't consider this a valid low. I wouldn't consider this a valid high. None of that structure matters to me. So as far as I'm concerned, that is the last lower high in this market. And at the lower low has not been formed yet, right? So I would wait to see what happens there. So that is why I would want to see how this candle closes. If it rejects and closes inside of the zone, or even if it doesn't close inside of the zone, overall, we're going to talk about on the lower time frame what I want to see happening and what would qualify me to continue looking for bullish opportunities in this market, right? So let's drop back down to the daily, and let's see if we can see anything on the daily. So on the daily chart, you can see that price did trade rather aggressively in this area here, right? So traded down rather aggressively, and as opposed to breaking structure to the downside, it then went into a minor consolidation, right? And then it broke structure to the downside in here. It came back above this consolidation in this area, and then it broke structure again to the downside, right? um, then pulling back from this area in here and then breaking structure again to the downside. So basically in these areas in here, price has broken, pulled back, broken, and pulled back, right? Whereas in this area here, price has broken this structure, this structure, this structure, and it has not pulled back into that area, right? Thus creating this little gap that we can see in pricing here. So I am expecting to see price wanting to come back higher and sort of revisit these areas in here in price, right? So that's overall my thought process on the lower time frame as well, which also warrants me sort of looking for opportunities to the upside. When we drop down to the 4-hour time frame, which would have obviously been the time frame that we did also discuss on my previous video, um, this area in here, we did speak about price trading down. We did speak about these structures in here to the downside. I believe that the last time we did speak, price would have been say around this area in here, right? So price would have been, yeah, I suppose it would have been around this area in here. And I did mention that I would want to see a new structure being formed in this market, so a new lower high, right? And then I would want to see if that lower high breaks below the low and continues lower, or if it rejects from here and pulls back. If it did reject from here and pull back and provided me with a setup, I would then be looking to buy, right? As you can see, price came back. It did reject from the bottom in here. However, it did not necessarily break any structures and stuff on the lower time frames based on my specific set of rules that I do look for. It did not do that, right? So overall, this would then have still been a bearish market. I am looking to see bullish evidence on a lower time frame. So that will come in the form of I don't know, for your specific strategy, what it might be. Maybe it might be bouncing off a level of support. Maybe it might be bullish engulfing candles, double top, double bottom, whatever it is, right? For me specifically, I just want to see structure being violated, right? Because I've done all of my analysis and I've looked at this from all points of view that I want to look at it from, right? So looking at it for now, I just want to see shifts in structure on the lower time frame, and then I will get down into those time frames and begin to look for opportunities to the upside. So even if this candle here that's currently forming on the 4-hour chart, even if this candle just shoots up to there, right, that is not going to make any difference to me. I still want to see specific things happening prior to me getting into a trade, right? So looking in this area, now we know that from here down to here, we're still in a bearish range, right? That is why you'll notice I've got it labeled as the H4 high and the H4 low, right? So I've got those two lines on there. That's the last break of structure to the downside. Inside of here, we are still in a bearish range, right? So should price pull back in a specific manner inside of here, then I would still be looking to see if we can get a sell opportunity back to the downside here, right? Unless we then get price perhaps pulling back and then doing something like that, and then beginning to break upwards, perhaps something like that, then I would start to look for opportunities to the upside, right? So for me, I want to see confirmation that the market has now switched to the direction that I want to take the trade in. So I'm taking a reversal trade, but I'm taking it with confirmation. So it's basically like a continuation in a reversal, right? So looking at that, what do I expect to see now? I want to see one of two things, right? Either this market's going to come up, create a new lower high and break lower, then start to move higher, right? Or this market is then going to form a high, come back, fail to break the low, and then begin to move higher. Those would be the two things that I would want to see happening in this market for me to be able to start looking for buys. If neither of these two scenarios take place, then I would expect to see the market perhaps flying up into that area in there, perhaps doing something in there, and then I would be looking to take sales back down into around this low in here, right? So that's pretty much straightforward what I would be looking at right now. So looking at this, that means that on the lower time frame, there might be opportunities to the upside, right? Because I believe that price is currently oversold. Why is it oversold? Because it has broken a swing low to the downside or a short-term low to the downside, right? Whatever you define this low as. So that then has put price in an oversold region. So I would expect to see price coming back into a discount or a premium price and then looking to see if price can go lower. So let's drop down to the 30-minute chart and let's have a look at what we can see here on the 30-minute. On the 30-minute chart, when we look at it, we can see that price then broke, when it broke this low, right? So this was the last structure that was broken on the 4-hour chart, right? So you can see here, that's the last structure that was broken on the 4-hour. So when we drop down to the 30-minute chart, we can see here that price did what? It broke lower. So this was the break of structure. And then it began consolidating here. It then broke lower, right? So in this area here, we can see this aggressive break to the downside here, which meant that there was some price that was untested. Price then came back into it, retested it, failed to break structure, right? And then broke structure to the downside here. So that means that either at this point here, right? Or at this point here, we would expect price to then sell off again. For me currently, I have committed to this point here, right? But I am still keeping an open mind in the fact that price could still come back into this area here, right? For now, looking at the 30-minute chart, however, it makes a lot of sense for price to want to come back into this area. Why? Because we can see this big move to the downside. What did this move do? It took out all of these lows in here, right? So it broke through a swing lows all in here, and it broke lower and created new lows, right? So this is something that I am expecting. So perhaps we might see something like a setup coming in from this area here. This is just a rough idea. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to enter here and put a stop loss there, right? And then I'll be looking to target at maximum, I'll be looking to target this H4 low, right? Because I am bullish in this market, and I'm not necessarily looking for this market to create new lows. Even though it might do so, I'm not necessarily expecting it to do so, right? So remember the two scenarios that I went through on this 4-hour chart for buy scenarios. However, if those buy scenarios are not met, then we would look to see if price comes back either into this area, if we can get a sell opportunity here. If it breaks above this area, I will expect price to come all the way back either into this high here or into this high here, right? Why? Because for me, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing significant that happened in here. This was just a little bit of manipulation that was put in there, right? For what reason? I'm not necessarily going to explain that on this platform, but my mentorship students do know exactly what happened in this area in here, what we had after these two breaks to the downside here, right? So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that you were able to get some information out of it. Remember, if there's anything else you'd like us to go through, drop it down in the comments. Until next time, it has been a pleasure as always to share with you guys, and I am wishing you a blessed, profitable remainder of the week, a blessed weekend, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next video.